Hello, and welcome to part one of Filling Gaps. In my years as an AIS provider, I have seen a lot of students with a lack of place value understanding. As you know, place value is one of the most important foundations in math. This video is an attempt to fill this gap. I'm going to keep my face off the screen for most of the presentation, as the important stuff that you need to see is on the screen. So here we go. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Jacqueline Williams-Wedner. I have been a math educator for 28 years. I have taught third and fifth grades. The majority of my career has been spent as a math coach, and then I transitioned to math specialist. I am the sum total of the smart people I have learned from. There are too many of them to name. For example, Christina Tondevald, Marilyn Burns, Greg Tang, Berkeley Everett, John Sangiovanni, and his Howard County math coaches, who created an amazing platform of math resources. These amazing mathematicians have fed my need to reflect and grow in my practice. I believe that all children can learn, and I help them make sense of the math that's around them. I like children to feel empowered and say, I got this. During my years as a math coach, I was fortunate to work with a principal, Michael Fabraro, who started a math vertical team. With that team, we created the Formative Cycle. It is a cycle that was tested over time with many iterations across all grade levels. I go into greater explanation of this cycle on my website. During this video, I will lead you through the cycle as I explain the steps for filling a gap in place value. In my work with second grade students, who the majority of their year is adding and subtracting up to 1,000, I discovered that most of my students struggled with place value. How could I tell? They did not speak the language of place value. If they were adding a 3 and a 6 in the tens place, they said 3 and 6 and not 30 and 60 or 3 tens and 6 tens. I believe that this goes back to a lack of understanding regarding teen numbers. Unitizing is the beginning of place value knowledge. Children need to see that 10 ones is the same as 110. A child should solidify this grouping foundation when learning teen numbers. This grouping understanding will then lead to deeper place value understanding. Teachers in any grade level will see this when adding and subtracting. It also shows up when students are estimating sums and differences. Other misconceptions that I have noticed: if a student is subtracting procedurally, they will do the work, and if I ask them, what number is this? So they're subtracting 37 is the total, and they're taking away 19. After they do the regrouping work, they'll tell me that that 37 is 217. So I'll say to them, so that 37 became 217? And they'll say yes. The same thing happens when they're subtracting three-digit numbers. The first step in the formative cycle is first to select a task. This task must be a high-quality task. I have attached a rubric below that shows the criteria that I use when selecting a task. This task must be meaty enough that a student will have to think to solve it. When you click on this link, you can see what the rubric looks like. So the task that I have chosen as a formative assessment tool will show whether students can unitize. So the question says, does 4 tens and 8 ones have the same value as 3 tens and 18 ones? Explain your thinking. Do they know that there is a group of 10 and 18 ones, which will then make 3 tens and 18 ones the same as 4 tens and 8 ones? The next step in the cycle is to anticipate student thinking. I must solve the problem and think about the misconceptions that I will see. For this problem, I think one of the things that I will see is some students will be number pluckers and add the numbers. Some will say no and not be able to explain why. And some will think 3 10s and 18 ones is 318. Of course, I can't anticipate all misconceptions. There will always be something that I didn't think of. Kiddos surprise us with the way they think. The next step in the formative cycle is to gather and interpret evidence. I gave this problem to all 5 of my second grade AIS pullout groups because they all were showing gaps in place value. As a classroom teacher, you can assess your entire class or just the students that you have noticed gaps. I am going to share with you my thought process on how I decided if the students understood unitizing. I sorted the papers into got it and don't got it. Depending on the task, sometimes there will be an almost got it group. So here are students' work. Students A and B go into the got it group. Student A composed the terms to determine the value of each unit form. Notice they said yes because 410 plus 8 ones equals 48, and 3 10s plus 8 ones equals 38 plus 10, which equals 48. Student B drew the base 10 blocks and showed 18 ones as 1 10 and 8 ones, and then further explained, yes, because you have 3 10s and the 18 shows one more 10. So to me, these 2 students are in the got it group. Students C, D, E, F, and G went into the don't got it group. Student C identifies 3 10s as and 18 ones as 318. Student D said the digit 8 is a number and thought that the 3 10s equals 300s. And you can see that in their place value chart. Student E shows no understanding of the question and just adds the digits. Student F shows some understanding of unit form. 4 10s and 18 ones equals 57, so that's an obvious mistake. The ones digit is incorrect, but they have some understanding that the 18 ones is 110. There is also some confusion about the question. Student G answered the question correctly, but their reasoning makes no sense. Because she is an English language learner student, I asked her to explain her thinking to me verbally, and she was unable to do so. I will need to spend time with her one-on-one because she has other gaps that are impacting her math performance. I've gathered and interpreted the evidence. This is the end of part 1. In part 2, I will discuss the steps that I will take to fill